Senate prefer?
Well, we did pass that out because we know that the House initiative on one-to-one is going to need some additional funding. And so we felt like this was an opportunity for the House to address that. As far as using transportation funds for that initiative, there is zero support in the Senate and both caucuses to using transportation funds for that specific initiative.
So if she doesn't like the equalization bill, you don't like transportation, do you see any other possibilities? Or just arm wrestle it out? Or?
Well, we've got our budget people, Lyle, we've been working on trying to massage all the numbers. The reality is if you're going to build a few buildings, the crime lab or the pod for Gunnison, for the prison, if you're going to do Weber State's building, if we're going to give equity funding to higher ed, if we're going to fund the WPU, if we're going to fund growth, there's not very much money left for any initiative, regardless of whose it is. And so that's the challenge, and that's why there's a discussion on bringing in transportation funds and why we send over SB 111 as an option to fund.
I would just add this, that SB 111 will only raise $12 million the first year, and then I think it goes to 41 or 42 after that. So it has an ongoing component to it. It isn't nearly the amount that she's asking for, and that's 100 million or 100 million one time ongoing and 50 million one time. But I think the thing that's about it is we visited with Senator Howard Stevenson, who really is a nationally recognized expert in technology education. He convinces me that we don't need that big amount now initially. There's too many things that need to be put in place. First of all, the training of teachers, getting all the buildings equipped, those kinds of things that we need to do. And he's of the opinion that if we take this giant step without really having the basis for us, we could end up in disaster. And I think you've seen that in other states. So he's convinced us that this amount of funding, I think we can find enough funding to level it, to put it into place with $20 to $25 million without Senate Bill 111. I think Senate Bill 11 just enables us to address some other needs in the state. One of the real concerns I have is the fact that we really have to have our capital improvements to 1.1%, and that's going to take $59 million. I would love to have that ongoing revenue. I don't think I can as I put the budget, but we have to have that ongoing and one time. I think we are making a gigantic mistake in this state if we don't keep up on our buildings, and that's 1.1% is a nominal amount. So can we do it without, I can tell you, we can put a budget together that would not require the $50 million from TIF, but it wouldn't have nearly as much money for the technology as she wants, that she's asking for. But I think on the other hand, in talking to Senator Stevenson, we could make a good step and a commitment further that will really make a difference and in a correct way. And we measure first and then we cut.
So I just maybe, while we're on that, Senator Jones, the question is about funding for the one-to-one initiative coming over from the House, and I don't want to misrepresent your caucus, but what I'm reading from your caucus is that there's no support for there being us using transportation funds for that specific initiative, and I didn't want to misrepresent that.
We have not had that specific discussion, but I would guess that would be how it would come down. Yes.
Okay.
You know, I think the concept is something that I think there's a lot of support for. We've got the high birth rate in Utah. We have a very large classroom size, very high per pupil teacher ratio in the classroom. And we also, though, have the challenge of being, I'd say, in the top 10 as far as percent of budget that in our budget we spend on education. So technology is going to be part of the solution. I think Senator Hilliard hit it right on, though. It's how you roll it out and what scale, and we really don't have money to spare. So it has to be rolled out in the very most efficient way possible, and I think we're looking at how to do that.
So just to be clear, does the Senate caucus, GOP caucus, support the concept and the plan itself that the speaker's trying to roll out?
I think so.
Well, we haven't seen the bill here
I
yet.
haven't really had an opportunity to.
But I know that we've had a team working with their body to come up with something that's scalable, that we can do incrementally, that really makes some sense, that's based on some data. And we haven't seen that bill yet, but when the bill comes over here, you know, we want to make sure that it has those elements in it, and hopefully it does.
I'm getting many emails, and you probably are too, from people who have some technology in their schools that say this is not the right way to do it. Let's be more careful. And if we have that much money available, let's invest in our teachers and lower class sizes and professional development and make it an easier environment for our school teachers in classrooms. And many people are not convinced that technology alone is the answer for that.
$100 million ongoing may be like filling up your credit card, and you're going to have to start making the minimum payments too.
Senator Niederhauser, you were briefed by the governor yesterday on his Healthy Utah plan, and that is not yet represented by a bill that's been introduced in either house. So where does that stand, and will something on that happen in the session?
So he did give us a briefing. We were able to ask questions. We didn't take any position. We still want to move Senator Shiazawa's bill forward. And there'll be more discussions as that bill moves forward regarding the specifics of the governor's proposal.
If you pass Senator Shiazawa's bill, does that preclude the governor's proposal?
It doesn't, because the Senate Bill 251, while it's talking about the population from 100% of federal poverty level and below, it's still asking for a lot of waivers that are similar to the waivers that the governor would be asking for. And it gives him some flexibility to go back to Washington and work out some kind of a deal and then come back to the legislature. And so I don't see them as mutually exclusive, but the message in the Senate bill is that we want to focus on the 100% and below.
I think for the legislature to consider the governor's proposal, he either needs to have a bill introduced in the legislature, which now requires a leave of our body. I mean, I certainly would vote for the governor to draft a bill, or to prepare a substitute bill. And then someone on the floor, either whatever Medicaid expansion bill was on the board, could make a substitute, and then we can look at the governor's bill. But until we get the language, you know, it's easy to talk concepts, it's difficult to draft them in express language. And then our fiscal analysts can say, if you do this, there's savings, there's money we have to pay. But we haven't, in my budgeting, we have not put any money aside for Medicaid expansion. So we'd have to find it if there's many costs.
Can this get done in the time you have, or will you need a special session?
Well, we can get the bill passed, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done as far as the governor's concerned and his staff in working with Washington, D.C., and just what kind of program, a Utah-style program that could be put together with waivers and whatever negotiation would take place. And so either, you know, that process takes some time, we come back next session, or in a special session, we don't know.
Every clicking minute, the window gets closed.
Tyranny of the clock.
But this is, you know, this is the first time our caucus has been briefed on it. And so, you know, how long have we been working on this in the session? For several weeks. We've looked at a lot of things, and So it's just not going to be a one-day decision for us. It's going to take some time to understand what that means. And a lot of it we don't know, just because it's going to take a lot of waivers that we have no idea whether the federal government will agree to them. So at least we feel like that we ought to at least empower the governor to go back and work out some of those details and come back with what he's discovered.
Senator Jones, did the governor wait too long to put his proposal on the table?
I think there are other proposals that have taken a long time to put on the table too. So it seems like we're a few weeks behind schedule, and in fact, we're wrapping up next week. That's what it feels like to me.
Any other questions? No tweets?
Not today.
No texts?
Okay, well, and Senator Bramble's, the payday lending bill. Is the opportunity now to address this issue that may not have existed before with the payday lending industry?
Who's familiar with the payday lending bill?
I think Senator Valentine, you've been involved with it,
I've been involved with parts of it. I think obviously the environment is there to take a look at the payday lending industry. I think that's why we spent so much time today on the floor talking about it, and it was bipartisan effort. I thought that was really good to have people from both sides of the aisle concerned about this. I personally was concerned about the venue provisions, where those lawsuits are brought to enforce a payday loan. I think that the bill was very accurate in saying it's got to be where either the person resides or where the loan was made. It can't be some place that's far away that's inconvenient.
I was off the floor for a few minutes, so I didn't know way to address that bill.
It is in fact true. I got confirmation that all you need is a driver's license and a payday stub to get a payday loan.
And so this bill would require a little more
It's more
vetting.
transparent. It's more transparent, so people know what they're getting into. That's what Senator Valentine said. It's better than it was.
All right, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
What is Tuesday?
Wednesday, the 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should be happy. I know.